Hello everybody, my name is Kristen and today we will be discussing Mexico. First, we are going to start with cultural dimensions and power distance. Mexico is a pretty high power distance society, which means that they have a very hierarchical society and the less powerful members of society are okay and accept the fact that there's an unequal distribution of power. This also means that the boss is pretty authoritarian and those working under him need to check in, and there's a little more micromanagement happening. Next, we will be moving along to individualism. Mexico is a collectivist society, meaning they think in a we instead of an I, and it's about the greater good of the society as a whole. This also very much feeds into the family mentality and wanting to take care of your extended family, not just your centralized unit. There's a commitment to the group as a whole. You also see that while within work settings, your coworkers and those that you work with can become family and can become friends through loyalty and really working to build relationships, because in essence, in a collectivist community, relationships are the key. And moving right along, we have uncertainty avoidance. So Mexico is a high uncertainty avoidance society, meaning that ambiguous and unknown scenarios are very scary and can be very uncomfortable. This also means that within these societies, such as Mexico, innovation and people who stray away from the common beliefs can really cause tension and issues. For instance, Catholicism is a very popular religion throughout Mexico, and Catholicism has very strong beliefs on birth control and sexuality and, dating either and all along those lines. So if you stray outside of that norm, it can cause social tension and cause you to be outcast or have pressures to kind of conform to what is currently the norm. Within work ethic, this also means that time's money. You want to be precise, and a lot of the people are very hardworking because they want to get the job done right and deliver and be reliable, and that kind of feeds back into that loyalty that you see with the collectivism as well. And finally, with our cultural dimensions, I have a bonus. So Hofstede presented 7 original cultural dimensions. This is not one of his original ones, but Mexico ranks a 97 out of 100, so I thought it was important to include. And it's indulgence. They're a very high indulgence society, which means there's an emphasis on wanting to enjoy life and realize your impulses and kind of feed those impulses. This leads to the optimistic and often fun personality that you see within the Mexican peoples, and this can translate back into family parties and getting together and furthering those collective relationships. It can also impact spending habits, such as spending money for short-term goals such as cars or clothing instead of saving for long-term goals that don't have that immediate reinforcement. But on the bright side, there's an emphasis on leisure time, family time, and that church family Sunday instead of working a 7-day work week. All of these very much feed into the way that the Mexican people communicate. Since it's a collectivist society, you want to emphasize being diplomatic and non-confrontational, even indirect. So instead of saying, no, I don't like that, you'd say something along the lines of, maybe we can analyze it together or work on it. All along those things. Also, nepotism is very popular. So that is the practice of promoting and putting your family first, even in business. Family-run businesses are very common. And so if you have that ability to build relationships and become a friend, you're going to be hired and promoted over that individual who, say, sells the most, but can't connect to people on a personal level. And also nonverbal communication is very important. You want to have a firm handshake, and it's a more touchy-feely culture. You might be kissed on the cheek or embrace. And this is also why during business meetings, you could have more casual lunch meetings instead of being stuck in the office, but you still want to be respectful and you really want to use people's proper titles because it's a high power distance society, and also avoid eye contact because it can be viewed as confrontational. Within this, also within Spanish, you have the use of conjugations and the formal you. So tú is informal, usted is a way of saying you to to somebody who you view higher on the hierarchy as you, or an elder. So for instance, an elder to me would say "Cómo estás?" And that S on the end means that it's an informal, it's a tú. And I would reply "Bien, gracias," which means good, thank you, "y usted" instead of "y tú." And that means that I'm showing respect to the person who's speaking to me. If I was asking the question, I would say "¿Cómo está usted?" instead of "¿Cómo estás?" or "¿Cómo está ustedes?" Ustedes is referring to you all or multiple people, whereas usted is one person. Next, on my favorite topic, we have food. First, we have mole, which is the national dish of Mexico. It originates potentially in 4 areas of Mexico, but it's suspected to be either Oaxaca or Puebla. And the top photo that you see with the chicken is the typical Pueblan style mole. These sauces can come in a variety of colors from pink to green, but commonly are red and brown. It just really varies based on the region. It's a pretty complicated dish to make and often involves more than 30 ingredients, and you make a paste prior. The dish has adapted with the addition of like pork and beef and even sheep that you see that the Spaniards brought over. But it's a very common dish throughout all of Mexico, and it also includes chocolate, which was originally cultivated in Mexico and taken by the Spaniards back to Europe. And it's generally served over rice. Moving right along, we have tamales or tamales, and the word tamal actually originates from the native Aztec language, but it is believed that they could have been made as early as 7000 BC, which is around the time that the first indigenous peoples were settling after crossing the land bridge. They're typically used in rituals, which is why they're even common day used for Christmas. So the Aztec peoples used them. They filled them with beans if they were going to be honoring the jaguar deity, and they filled them with honey and beans if they were going to be performing sacrifices. So they're very ritualized food. And they were served to the Spaniards. Finally, we have tacos. So tacos were originally made for the silver miners because they were easy street food. They were the American culture attempted to oppress them in the early 1900s by illegalizing, by making it not legal to sell tacos in certain areas, especially Los Angeles and San Antonio. And my final fun fact is that Taco Bell's founder, Glenn Bell, attempted to say that he patented the hard shell taco in 1950, but it was actually Mexican restaurateurs in the 1940s. I said final, but these tacos up in the corner are the delicious al pastor, and they were a fusion of Lebanese settlers who migrated to Mexico and turned shawarma into tacos. So thank you very much for tagging along with me, and I hope you didn't get too hungry.